I stand corrected. It is another wet day here in northern Illinois. We had quite the thunderstorms last night, but it's great though. Everything's lush and green. So today's video, I wanted to discuss, I was incorrect. Well, I was right and wrong at the same time, but I wanted to make a correction. On a number of my recent videos, I discussed the range on my car, and I used the battery here as an indicator of the range I've got for my car and the overall condition of the battery. And I've made the statement that this is unchanging. It isn't affected by the way you drive, and that's true, and it's not true. And let me explain what I mean by that. Now, a number of you guys had said, no, it's affected by the way you drive. And I said, no, because I can drive hard for a couple charges and it doesn't affect it. I hypermile it for several charges and it doesn't affect it. But it does affect it on a grand scale. So here's the situation. When I bought the car, I talked with Tesla about this. And basically here's the power graph. Now, if you go into this page here, this is expected power usage for a trip, and then here's overall consumption. Now, I was told that this is a fixed number based on the watt hours per mile that your car, based on the watt hours per mile of the car. Now, I was led to believe it was based on a 215 or 225 or something watt hours per mile that Tesla assumes you will average in the ownership of the car, but that this consumption graph, your expected range, you see this says 248 miles at the current state of charge. This says projected 262 miles of range. Well, why do they differ? Well, watch this. If I change this to a 15-mile scale, it shows 272 miles of range. 5 miles of scale, it drops to 256 miles of range. So it depends on what block of driving that the computer's looking at. So I was always under the assumption this was fixed based on Tesla's assumption of how you're going to drive the car. And the consumption graph here, that this projected range is what varies. So I would tell you guys, no, the consumption graph changes, but this doesn't. Well, the consumption graph changes based on just very recent driving, either a 5-mile block of distance, a 15-mile block of distance, or a 30-mile block of distance. That graph will change. However, over an extended period of time, this, I think, changes based on the lifetime average usage of the car. So the reason that I mention this is that those of you that have watched my channel for some time know that I have aftermarket 20-inch wheels that I've had sandblasted and powder coated white, and then I have Falken 20-inch tires. They're a performance tire and they're a staggered setup. The fronts are the 8.5-inch standard width, the rears are 10-inch wide. So I have higher rolling resistance. Well, the last couple videos that I did talking about range of the car, I was back using the original 18-inch Aero wheels and tires, and I had those on the car for a couple months while I was having my 20-inch wheels while I was having the tires removed and wheels sandblasted and powder coated, and the powder coater messed them up and I had to redo them. It was a couple month process and get the tires and have them mounted, and it was a big deal. And so I was using the 18-inch Aero wheels and tires for a couple months. Well, the car averages 188 watt hours per mile with those, but it averages about 228 watt hours per mile with the Falkens. So there's quite a difference there. And I've noticed that since having my 20-inch wheels and tires back on it, my range has dropped. It used to be with my 18-inch Aero wheels and tires, an 80% state of charge showed 254 miles of range at 80% state of charge. Well, with the Falkens and the 20-inch wheels, I'm at 250 to 251 miles of range at an 80% state of charge. So there's quite a difference there. And it's a couple percent difference. Well, because the car is taking an extended driving distance, probably the lifespan of the car, into consideration when it gives you this expected range on a charge. But again, this consumption graph is just looking at the last few miles of driving. So I was wrong, you guys were right, that this does change with the driving habits. But I was right in that it doesn't really change. It's not like if you drive aggressively a little bit, this is going to change. This is a very long term. It's looking at the lifespan of the car before it changes. So if you all of a sudden start driving really, really aggressively for a very long period of time, this will change. If you start hypermiling the car for a very long period of time, this will change. So I stand corrected. Thanks, guys, for pointing that out. None of you guys explained it thoroughly, though, and I was just getting defensive, going, well, wait a minute. This is what Tesla told me. That doesn't change. Well, it doesn't change by your driving habits in a short term. It does. It's reflective of the ownership duration of the car and how the car is used. So anyway, hope that wasn't too complicated an explanation for you guys. Thanks for putting up with me and being incorrect at times. I have no problem correcting myself when I can see that indeed I was wrong on something. So couple cool things coming up in the works. I've got an interesting product that I'm looking to test for a company. Phenomenal item, very cool. I think a great option for a Model 3. So be looking for that over the next couple of weeks. And a number of projects. I have 2 custom steering wheels at the upholstery shop. I've got my composite wheel that I'm making, so I have 3 steering wheels in the works right now. Still waiting for my my dash panel to get upholstered. The upholstery shop, I don't know what the deal is with them, but I'm getting kind of annoyed. They do awesome work, but they're down an employee, and the owner went on vacation, and there's just delay after delay, and it's really aggravating me. Screen mounts, I had an email yesterday wanting to know the time frame on them. It was, I believe, 5 weeks ago that I had mentioned it'd be 2 months to get them in. Looks like we're about on that track. All the CAD work is finished. The fixtures are being made right now. I was going to be driving down to the machine shop, which is about a 4.5 hour drive away from me. I was going to be driving down there this Wednesday, but I actually have family coming in from out of state. And the machinist said that's fine because he wants to do some additional work. He's converting DXF files and making some changes to the program. And so it looks like I'll be going down early next week. And that's not just for prototyping, that's to begin the production run. So we're looking at about a week to begin production, and which means it's roughly a 6-week time frame from when I had initially quoted to when production is beginning. Now the big question is, are we going to have is production going to run smoothly? Are the production parts going to fit properly and be within spec? And I have to wait until I have the production mount to be able to make the leather boot around the back. So so it may be that anyone that doesn't want a leather boot will get a discount and can get their mount a little quicker. But I have to wait till I have the production mount done so I can get all of the design for the leather boot and have those made. So that's where we're at with the screen mounts. I'm excited about it, and I've got some really cool exotic ideas for work to do to my Model 3, so you guys can be there's some cool, interesting, and very different videos coming up over the next month or 2. So anyway, thanks guys. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you have any ideas for videos that you'd like to see in the future. And don't hesitate to tell me if you think I'm wrong. I am more than willing to defend my position in the comments section, but I'm also willing to change my position if it can be demonstrated that indeed I have an incorrect view of something. So anyway, thanks guys. Have a great day now. Bye-bye.